Hey everyone, you are watching episode 3 of Everything I Like Gets Cancelled, a show where I talk about things from my past and my childhood that have been canceled, closed down, discontinued, or are just generally not as easy to get as they once were. In this episode, I am talking about something that I have such a fond memory of from my childhood, and I miss it a lot, and I think about it every few weeks. And it's something that I think a lot of 80s and 90s kids will remember, at least I hope they will. And that thing is a drink, and that drink is Fruitopia. I'm going to give you a very brief history about Fruitopia because there are other resources that you can access that has more information than I would be able to provide. But basically, Fruitopia was a beverage that was created in the early 90s by the Coca-Cola Corporation, which basically was made to offset a lot of the sales that were done by flavored teas like Snapple and other similar flavored drinks. When I was doing some research into Fruitopia prior to filming this episode, I realized a lot of people, there was just some debate online about was Fruitopia fizzy? And no, Fruitopia is not a fizzy drink, it's not a soda, and it's not a juice. It's just a fruit flavored, and I say that really stretching it out because it wasn't flavored like any fruit that you can get from a grocery store or a farm or in nature. It was like unreal fruit flavoring, but it was so good, so refreshing, so wonderful. It was just one of the best drinks I think that's ever been created. It was a really popular drink, especially in around the mid 90s. It even had a cameo appearance in the 1997 movie Good Burger, which was one of my favorite movies with Keenan and Kel from their sketch and all that. And there's this one shot where the characters all kind of go on this double date, and Keenan and Kel, they get Cokes, and their dates get Fruitopias. And I am including a screenshot of that right now. And I remember Fruitopia a lot from my childhood. Fruitopia played a big role in just, my life because it was one of my favorite things to drink. I'm now a really big soda drinker, but before that, I was a really big juice drinker. And as I think a lot of kids are, and I'll be honest with you, this was not a juice, it was something else. And I truly think that in the 90s, people forgot that water was something that people needed to consume, and they thought that this drink was just the coolest thing. And I was one of those people. I thought Fruitopia was great, super refreshing, just one of the best drinks ever. So, as with this show, I don't really talk too much about like the history of Fruitopia. I talk about what I remember about Fruitopia, and I remember some very specific things about Fruitopia. The first thing I remember, one thing I remember about Fruitopia, probably the most important thing I remember, is that Fruitopia came in a very interesting shaped bottle. It was very much like a Snapple bottle, but it was even better than a Snapple bottle, and that's because it contained Fruitopia, which was their brand of Fruitopia was very interesting. It's like they obviously, I mean, they're professionals. The Coca-Cola Corporation, they knew what they're doing. They know what they're doing now, but it was very enticing to drink. And I think they really kind of capitalized. There was kind of a resurgence in kind of, uh, you know, pop colors and like weird font. Like the font was like a few steps above Comic Sans, but that seemed really cool and interesting in the 90s. And the label was really cool. The colors of the Fruitopia itself now would look like it was toxic waste, but at the time just seemed so appealing. Fruitopia was as if the characters on a Lisa Frank folder came together and developed a beverage and just mass produced it for the world. That's what Fruitopia was like, because it was that same style of like very colorful, very loud, very in your face. And I don't think I'll ever forget it. I'll never forget the label. I'll never forget the shape of the bottle. it was all very enticing, especially to a young child, which I was. I was about 6, 7 when I was drinking Fruitopia. Second thing, but my elementary school wasn't allowed to have soda in our vending machines. We had 2 drink vending machines, and one just had water, and the other one, instead of having soda, had Fruitopia. So we had a designated Fruitopia vending machine, and the vending machines were cut off during school hours, but after school you could go to the vending machine. And if I had a good week in school, something that my family would do, I would get $1 and I would be able to go to the vending machine at school and I would be able to get a Fruitopia. And I always would get the green Fruitopia, which was the strawberry kiwi Fruitopia, but nothing in it tasted like strawberry or kiwi. It tasted like green. And if you're a Fruitopia fan, or if you like popsicles, or if you like fruit flavored things that don't actually taste or remind you of fruit, you know exactly what green tastes like. It is a distant cousin to the blue flavor, which some might say is blueberry, but no. Blue and green is its own flavor. But Fruitopia kind of, phased out in the late 90s in America. They still sell it in Canada, but they don't really sell it here. I have heard online there's a few places you can get it here, but I've struggled in finding them. But that segues into the third thing I remember about Fruitopia, which is one day after school, it was a Friday, I got my $1 like usual, and I was going into the vending machine to get a Fruitopia. And I went up to the vending machine and I saw the vending machine had been replaced with a Gatorade vending machine. This is not a knock on Gatorade, but I just didn't want a Gatorade. Actually, for a while, I thought Gatorade was a sham because it did not make you sweat the color of Gatorade, which, if you remember the early Gatorade commercials, the athletes in the commercials would appear to be sweating the color of the Gatorade they just consumed. And I didn't understand why that wasn't happening to me. I didn't realize that was a trick of the commercial or just a trick of the eye or a special effect. So I didn't like Gatorade. So I was very confused as to why the Fruitopia was gone. I was so upset about it, I walked away from the machine and I kind of, slammed my head into the nearest wall. What was bad about this, though, was that the vending machines in my elementary school were right next to our cafeteria. And our cafeteria doubled as a gymnasium, and our gymnasium had our gym teacher's office in it. And the gym teacher was still in her office, and she did not like me because I was not good at sports or athletics at all. And she heard me slam my head into the wall, and instead of being concerned about my safety, which is understandable because she didn't like me, she yelled at me for causing a ruckus. And I was fine. I was okay, and I just walked away with no Gatorade, and especially no Fruitopia. After that, I had Fruitopia about a handful of other times before it was totally phased out. And from the research that I've done, I know that Coca-Cola incorporated some of the flavors of Fruitopia into its Minute Maid brand. And I definitely have had Minute Maid juice flavored drinks. That's not juice, but just juice flavored drinks. And they're good, but they're really not Fruitopia. Fruitopia just had a very distinct taste, and I think it was the whole package. It was the way the bottle was shaped. It was the packaging. It was the label. The brand was just great, and I just don't think there's ever going to be another drink like Fruitopia. Do you remember Fruitopia? If you do, I would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment in the comment section of this video and let me know what you remember about Fruitopia. I'm just eager to connect with other people who remember it because so many people that I've talked to kind of remember it. It's a hazy memory, but if you have any specific memories about it, very eager to hear from you. And this has been episode 3 of Everything I Like Gets Canceled. If you like this video and if you think you might like other videos that I do, I talk a lot about things like this, then please subscribe to this channel or just check out all of the other videos I have. More episodes on this show are on their way, so I will see you soon. Thanks.